welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And this is Abby, your badass breastfeeder. Today's episode is brought to you by Idaho Jones, not Indiana Jones. Nope. Idaho Jones. That would be different. Idaho Jones, home of empowered pumping. And today's episode is also brought to you by Original Sprout. The leave-in conditioner is light as a lightweight formula and made with nourishing emollients. But we will hear more from our sponsors later. You can go to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com and check our sponsor page. If you ever need anything, see if you can give them any of your business because they make this podcast possible. And while you're there, you can scroll down and enter your email address and we will send episodes straight to your inbox every week. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
I do. And it comes from our iTunes. And it says, "Hi, ladies. I found you when I was 6 months pregnant. And since I was determined to be the first person in my family to successfully breastfeed, I've been to all your episodes since that time. I ended up having a traumatic delivery that led to my son being in the NICU for a short period of time. This then led me to exclusive pumping in the beginning while he finger fed until he learned to latch. Then I had an oversupply and dealt with difficulties of him keeping up with my flow and letdown. After that, of course, I got mastitis. And as I was trying to wean down on pumping and go full boob, then the lymph nodes in my neck swelled from the mastitis. So it was rough go week by week, but I wanted to say thank you so much for giving me a wealth of knowledge that helped guide me through all of these challenges and keep my baby fed with breast milk. I will say that I've gotten every single myth thrown at me. He's got his days and nights mixed up. He should be sleeping through the night by now. If you pump, you can see how much milk you're making. And lately, my personal favorite, if you want him to sleep through the night or sleep train, he needs to feed for 30 minutes each time to get a full feeding. My son has never fed for 30 minutes at a time. I know, right? And his doc is happy with his weight gain, plenty of diapers, content baby, etc. Thank you so much for all your support and straightforward advice that helps make breastfeeding goals way less complicated." First of all, it might be time for another myths episode pretty soon.
Yeah.
Y'all know those are my favorite. And I've been keeping track of some of the crazy things that I've been hearing. But this is like, oh my gosh, like some of the stuff that she went through, I wouldn't have even handled it. Like I would have been like, I'm done. That's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. But, you know, like we were saying, I think in a few episodes ago, I can't even remember which episode, like there are always bumps in the road. No matter what you do with your life, there's always something that comes up that you have to kind of navigate through. And she definitely navigated through it and made it to the other side. And it's possible, but you definitely need the education and the support for sure. And people not telling you to do strange things about feeding your baby for 30 minutes so that they can get a full, I don't know what that's about.
Can you control how long your baby is eating? Like you.
Right. I don't, yeah.
You don't have any control of that over that.
No, you do not. So I'm glad that she was just like, okay, whatever, stop talking to me, blah,
Right.
blah, blah.
Yes.
But it's, just the craziness. But it's hard enough when you're going through all this stuff. I mean, to have a traumatic delivery and a baby in the NICU and you're trying to figure out the breastfeeding piece and then having people like give all this crazy, weird information to you. Like, how are you supposed to get through all that, like manage it and stuff without just falling as victim? And I'd be in the fetal position. I'm sorry. I'd be like, I can't do it anymore. Position. Yeah. It just is too much. Too much.
It is. It's like, it's insane. It's an incredible amount of weight and stuff to go through. Everybody should be really proud of themselves for whatever happened because you went through a lot.
Absolutely. So she did amazing. And thank you so much for telling us about your journey. And for putting that on iTunes for us and for the rest of the world to see. And if you would like to send us a review, we love them. We love to have them. We love hearing about what your journey's like. And you can send it to iTunes or put it on iTunes, I should say, if you have that capability. Or else you can email us too, badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com. And then we're going to talk about weaning an older baby.
Yeah, because we did weaning a infant. Right? Mm-hmm. Was that what the one
Not
we
too
did?
long ago. Yeah,
we were like, we're going to do a weaning series. And so we started with like youngest, like weaning a baby, like an infant. And now we're going to talk about weaning an older baby. So what does older baby mean?
Yeah, because I think when we did infant, we decided that it was like, what did we decide? Like less than a year, right?
Like less than a year. When you're kind of making that decision, when you have to when you really have to take into consideration like, okay, this baby needs breast milk or formula for a year. and then you're having to figure out how to manage that.
Right.
So I
if
think
you
maybe
want your
now
baby to have, the breast milk, then you got to be breastfeeding or pumping for a year.
or
they need something. Yeah.
or donor milk.
Or donor milk. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then if you don't have those options, then you do have to consider formula because they need the nutrients that are in breast milk or formula for a year.
Mm-hmm.
They need that.
Yeah.
But
so
let's talk about over a year then. Over a year, like an older baby. So this is so over a year, but maybe less than like toddler age, where they're not quite toddler yet.
So, and this is kind of hard. So this is when we get a lot of weaning questions. So my PSA about weaning, which is, I'm going to put it out there, every single episode we do that ever has anything to do with weaning, I'm going to tell you, please do not feel afraid to contact a lactation consultant about weaning. They are not going to tell you that you have to keep breastfeeding. And I really feel like that's what people think. Like they don't want to contact a lactation consultant about weaning because they think it's against everything that, our being is. But this is something you need to definitely have some guidance with for a lot of reasons. I mean, first of all, your body is what's going on here? There's hormonal stuff involved. And this is all your baby has ever known too. So we can't just rip it away from them out of nowhere and expect them to be able to be okay with that. So there's a lot of stuff
okay with it. Just they're not going to be okay with it.
No.
But that's okay. If you need to wean, then you work through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually at a year, that's when people are okay, I'm ready to wean. You do have those people that are okay, I'll breastfeed for a year. And then when my baby can start having other things and we don't have that pressure of either breast milk or formula, then I want to wean. And then you have people that are I'm going to go as long as my baby will go. So it's you kind of have two different, schools of thought here. But that 1 year I find is it's kind of a tricky area because some babies at a year aren't some are doing great with solid foods and some aren't.
Yeah.
Some, they're not really old enough for you to reason with them yet.
No.
And it's still a lot. There's still a lot happening there. So weaning a baby that's around a year, I would say, between a year and a half, right? That would probably be this time frame, an older baby.
Yeah, that second year.
Yeah, there's definitely some, that second year. Now, I can tell you that what my experience was and I know Abby's was very different from mine, but my experience was I continued to breastfeed my kids after the first year. And then once they got to be a year, they were probably, I think they were all right around 15 or 16 months, maybe when they weaned. But it was more of and remember, I didn't know what I was doing back then. I still don't know what I'm doing half the time in my life. But with breastfeeding, I really didn't know what I was doing. So they kind of just stopped. I would try to latch them and they would just try wiggle off my lap and go run and play. As soon as they could really walk well and stable on their own, they were not interested in sitting in my lap and breastfeeding. And I was devastated, but I didn't know that was probably more of a distraction thing. I didn't know that babies that age don't typically wean on their own. And I probably, if I had known that and I tried to nurse them at night or something, that probably would have extended my breastfeeding relationship a lot longer. But I didn't know that at all. I just thought that they were just kind of done. But it wasn't a battle because they were kind of they were kind of doing their own thing. So it kind of whatever. But some babies are still nursing quite a bit at this age.
Yeah.
And I know yours were.
I know, yeah, mine were. And I think that's if you feel like you're ready to wean and you have a child who is being very distracted, who is like Dianne said, just kind of moving around a lot, and or maybe a baby who's going through a nursing strike for teething or something, that's a good time. You can take advantage of that and do what a lot of people say. They say, don't offer, don't refuse. So you're not offering. If you wanted to continue nursing, you would try to find the ways around that, the calming times, the nighttime, the nap times, to try to keep them latched on and keep them, around it. But if you want to wean, then you can take advantage of that time to just don't show them your boobs anymore. And, okay. And maybe go to the store and get some like new foods that they've never seen before. And just try to like take advantage of that distraction. And that could be a painless. I had a friend who was pregnant and she wanted to wean, and she didn't offer anymore. And she started giving her like, giving she was I think it was that kind of second year of life kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
She started giving her those little like those little, what are those little oranges called? The little clementines? Oh,
like little, the little clementine things, like the little peelable. They have no seeds and all that stuff. Yeah,
right. She just started like giving her a bunch. She would cut them up in small and stuff, but she would just start giving those to her a lot. And she just kind of forgot about nursing, and just went through, and it was very smooth. So that can be, it can be smooth that way if you kind of take advantage of that. Probably more likely it's not going to be smooth because there are a lot of babies at this age that are still nursing a lot. Like Jack nursed a lot. And I mean, both of my kids nursed a lot at that time. And sometimes they were nursing like newborns. They'll go through phases where they're just nursing a lot. And this has to do with so much with like, the different personalities of adults. I mean, babies have different personalities too. And some are just, maybe a little more easily distracted. Maybe not relying on nursing as much, for certain things at this age. And so you're really going to have to take it kind of case by case.
Yeah.
So if you have a baby that's not ready, who's just really, really nursing a lot, then we got to start because like you said, with the toddlers, like with, we did that breastfeeding with boundaries and these topics cross over so much because when you're trying to create boundaries is a way to just start the weaning process. You're kind of trying to decrease the amount of times that your child's nursing during the day, and you're trying to decrease the time of those nursing sessions. And if you want to wean, you can kind of do that all the way until all the nursing sessions are gone. Or you can work on it until, if you don't want to wean and you're just trying to create some space around yourself, you can do it until you feel like you have some boundaries and some structure. But yeah, I mean, I can go through that unless you have more to say. I know you have more to say. No, I mean,
I have a couple little things. So one thing I definitely want to put out there for sure is that this is not about like weaning from the pump. We do have an episode about weaning from the pump. It's kind of old. Maybe we should do another one on that again. But a lot of people do contact us at a year and say, okay, I still want to nurse my baby, but I'm done pumping. So that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about like totally like weaning. Well, and I remember,
Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. I remember like a couple years ago. I know we have a lot to say about this. There was a while back, like probably a couple years ago, we had talked about maybe a weaning thing or something. And I remember you said, and I always remembered that you said this, that like, okay, babies, like the average weaning age is, whatever, 2 to
2.5
5
to 7
or something. Yeah. 2.5 to 7. So I remember you saying like, that's an average. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean every baby's going to go to 2 from 2 to 7, right. You're going to have babies that wean earlier, like my babies did, because that's just their personality or whatever. So it really just, depends on what's going on with your baby. I also think that there's a lot, you have to really look at what's happening, like developmentally, you have to look at what's happening. You have to look at what's happening in your home. I mean, I've seen babies, and I just came across a situation recently where it was really difficult to wean them. And then when you kind of look at or they just don't, it seems like they just don't want to stop breastfeeding, or they suddenly kick it into gear more and are breastfeeding more. And you have to look at what's going on around them. And sometimes in those situations, we have a mom that works a lot, and that's the only connection that the baby has with her. So they are nursing more or start nursing at night again, or it's a pandemic and now all of a sudden you're home more. We got that a lot at the pandemic that like all of a sudden, remote work became a thing and these babies that were not nursing that much all of a sudden started nursing more. So sometimes it's something that is going on around you too, but you have to remember that it's not about the food all the time. That's their safety and their connection. And as toddlers, there's a lot developmentally happening there and you're their safe spot. So sometimes it's like, that's why we say like, you have to be taking it away kind of systematically, because if it's done just like out of nowhere, it's going to be devastating to them.
Yeah. I mean, the cold turkey option is something that people do sometimes. You hear about people who put Band-Aids on their nipples and say that the boobs are broken. Or they try to put like something bad tasting on their nipples. So then the baby won't want to. I mean, these kinds of like telling your baby the whole Band-Aid thing, like that's not going to work with a child of the age that we're talking about, a child from like 1 to 2, because they don't get that. Right. They might not really, like a toddler might understand what you're saying, but this like a 14, 16 month baby might not know what you're saying. They don't understand that. And cold turkey, again, is just very difficult. It's really hard. There are situations where this is necessary. I don't know, the parent's in an accident or something like happens, an emergency or something, and you just have to, and it's very hard, but people get through it.
It's not ideal, but
it's not ideal because again, then your body's going to go through a lot of like sudden hormone changes, and then the baby's going to be all upset all the time. And so of course, ideally, you want to like work on it slowly, but consistently, because you want to be consistent. If you want to you're kind of trying to create a new normal, right? You're trying to create a new structure. So you also need to be consistent through it. Otherwise, they're just not going to ever get on board. So...
Oh, should we take a break before we
get
into
We should take a break and then regroup all of our thoughts that are running through our brains and start talking about how to do this?
Yeah. Yep. So we'll have some tips on how to do it.
One thing I wanted to say was I think with the whole pumping at a year, some people feel like if they stop pumping at a year, like they can't keep nursing. They're like, oh, like if I stop pumping at work, then like, can I keep nursing when I see my baby? Like, will I still have milk?
Absolutely.
And like, you totally can. Mm-hmm. Like you can throw the pump away, which I know everyone wants to do when they're done with the pump, and just nurse when you see your baby.
Yeah.
And that works. Okay. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Idaho Jones, home of empowered pumping. Idaho Jones has made it their mission to make your pumping journey easier through their patent-pending breast pump bags and cleverly designed pumping accessories. Finding the time to sit down and pump can feel challenging, so Idaho Jones has created a range of stylish products that make pumping on the move easy. The Aerodel backpack and Rylet case are perfect for carrying wearable pumps such as LV, Willow, Imani, or Mom Cozy. They're the only bags on the market specifically designed for high-tech wearable pumps. If those wearable brands aren't right for you, the Idaho Jones Pump-A-Collect collection cups slip right into your bra and turn any pump into a wearable one without the price tag. And for moms with the Spectra S1, simply pop your pump in an Idaho Jones Pump-A-Porter belt bag. Clip it around your waist, and the S1 becomes portable. With free shipping and a 12-month warranty, moms are saying these products are amazing in every single way. Head to idaho-jones.com. That's idaho-jones.com and enter code BADASS at checkout for 15% off of your purchase. And today's episode is also brought to you by Original Sprout. Original Sprout carries safe, effective, and pediatrician-tested shampoos, conditioners, styling, and body care products. The leave-in conditioner's lightweight formula is made with nourishing emollients and arnica for split ends, making it ideal for detangling and eliminating frizz from damaged hair. The Miracle Detangler is perfect for making combing hair easier for babies, toddlers, children, and anyone with long hair. The rosemary can help prevent lice. All of Original Sprouts products are paraben and phthalate-free, vegan, and cruelty-free. Their proprietary formulas contain nourishing extracts from fruits, vegetables, and flowers that the whole family can enjoy. They are not just for babies anymore. Check out the entire line at originalsprout.com. That's originalsprout.com. And use code BADASS for 25% off of your purchase. And today's sponsors and the promo codes can be found in our show notes under this episode at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Our show notes will also include further information about things we talk about in this episode, and at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you'll also find our breastfeeding resources, all of our other episodes, and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne.
Whoop, whoop. Okay. Every time you do the ads, I remember how I need to order stuff from Original Sprout.
Put it on your to-do list.
I know, right? So, all right. So let's get our act together. So,
okay.
Yeah. So what do we want to do? Because I know, the weaning piece is, I think it's traumatic no matter what. And then you get people who say, I think my baby's weaning and I don't want to wean. So it's like, there's a lot happening here. There's a lot.
But this is certainly for people who want to wean. So we have the babies that are like, like we were talking about with the nursing strike and all that, who are ready to like be distracted. And then we have babies who are nursing a lot. And so we have to be a little more creative because we can't reason with them, like we talked about. And they're not just going to kind of willingly stop. So we are still going to try some of these techniques that we talked about in the boundaries episode. So we are going to pick a nursing session throughout the day that seems kind of like the least important one. It's not going to be the one right when they wake up in the morning or the one when they go to sleep at night. We'll start with whatever, maybe one in the afternoon where they just kind of quickly nurse, and we'll switch up the schedule and hide your boobs, mix up your schedule, and like go for a walk. Or like I said, going to the grocery store and getting interesting foods to look at and play with and taste is going to go a long way too, because it's going to be new and interesting, and they're just very easily distracted. So try that and try to just kind of, now we're talking about the purposes of weaning here, not just creating boundaries. So try to take that particular nursing session and just remove it. Do something completely different. Switch up your schedule. And are you going to say something?
I was just about to say, like, kind of just piggybacking off that. Sometimes people will tell me that, like, oh, the baby really wants to nurse more if we're home. If we're out, they don't seem as interested. So sometimes it might be like, okay, take an extra trip to the park, or, something just to kind of get away from that one feeding that you're trying to eliminate.
Yeah. Yeah. And rearrange your living room. Like, everybody has that spot that they like to nurse, right? It's really comfy. It's the recliner. Maybe they've got all their nursing stuff next to it. Get it all, move it to the other side of the room, put all that stuff away, switch it up, and don't sit there anymore. Sit somewhere else. And just try to just shake things up. Don't be afraid to use things like, sweets. I know people are nutritionists are going to yell at me, but like, we're trying to do something here that's very difficult. So, I like those, my kids really like those little like Annie's.
Oh yeah, my daughter loves those. She's
those
19
gummies.
and she loves them. Yeah, those gummies. Yeah. Yep.
You can cut them up really small and like stick little pieces of them in their mouth, and they'll be like, oh my God,
Best thing ever.
Seriously, yeah, it's okay. It's okay, just try it. You could try like making, you can try making some like fruit, like we make popsicles in our house. Like we'll make a smoothie, and then we'll put the smoothie into popsicle molds.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, they can just like, it's tasty, it's perfectly healthy. They can, mess with it. They'll love it. And if you have a support system, this is going to be a great time to utilize them to the max. Try to have, as you're working through these like nursing sessions throughout the day, and don't be afraid to nurse. If you're trying to wean, you're still going, at this point, you're still going to be nursing sometimes. You're still going to be, your baby's still going to be nursing. So, just work on one session at a time. Work on the afternoon one, make sure you get a new schedule kind of going, and then move to the next one. I would save nighttime for last because that's going to be the hardest. And get other people involved. So like have grandma come over and take the child to the park, or have them, do whatever, have everybody kind of, involved. Again, we are really trying to create a lot of distraction. And if your baby gets sick, if something like that, the best thing to do, most people recommend just kind of waiting to continue. Just kind of keep things how they are, until they feel a little better, and then continue on. You can so you're going to be working on this, and so here's the thing is like, this is going to be really hard. Like, your child is not going to be happy about this. They're going to sometimes be crying. Sometimes they're going to be, really, really trying to nurse, and like literally like trying to like put their hands down your shirt. And if you are trying to wean, you're working on eliminating that particular nursing session, you are going to be saying no and not giving in. And that is what stops a lot of people. This is where a lot of people just go, this isn't working, because it's so difficult to do this. It's so emotional for us to just say no to our child who's trying to nurse. It's just like torture. And if this is really your goal and you're really motivated to do this, understand that you're still there. You're not, this isn't cry it out or something like that. You're there. You're trying to comfort them. You're trying to, you're still there. So it's okay. And you will get through this.
And I've had, I've had some people that, kind of like put limitations. And again, that's kind of more of like boundaries, but it does lead to the weaning process, where they'd be like, oh no, we can only do that at home. Or, so that when you are out, remember, we can only do that at home. And there's some great books about this too, about like,
oh yes.
Yeah. There's some really great books, about weaning that you can read to your baby, that at that age, the older baby, you can read to them and, talk to them about it. And again, they're pretty young, so they might not really understand it, but it is a good way to kind of like get into that mode. But it can be difficult. And I think sometimes people will, message us to be like, well, what do I do? And it's like, it is going to be hard. Like, yeah, you will have some pushback. And it will be hard. And I don't want anybody to feel like, well, should I just not even start the breastfeeding process because I don't want to have to deal with this later on? No, it's absolutely worth it. And you're always going to have to do something with your kid they're not going to like. Like, it's just, that's parenting, right? Like, you're going to have to say no in your world of parenting at some point or another. And it's not easy. But if this is what your goal is, and this is what's right for your family and your life, then it is important to kind of like make a plan and stick to it.
Yeah. I mean, the consistency is really what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. That's going to be really important. And, you might work on this and you might have eliminated like, most of the nursing sessions during the day or something. And you might go, okay, I'm tired. Like, I'm tired of pushing this. Like, I feel like I'm in a place now where I can manage for a little bit longer. And, that's fine. That's like boundaries. and having boundaries sometimes makes people feel like they have more control again, and then they're okay for a while longer. And if that happens, cool. If not, of course, just keep going. Nighttime weaning is going to look a little different. Once you get to the nighttime sessions, we have a whole episode on this, I think. But I think our whole episode is like night weaning is hard. I think that's all we said.
There's no magic. There's definitely no magic answer.
Dr. Jay Gordon has a night weaning protocol thing that is, gentle parenting focused. So it's not just and I think a lot of people too think well, I don't want to just cry it out. Okay. You're not, unless you're putting your baby in a room by themselves to cry alone, that's not what's happening. You are just trying to, you're still there. You're still there. You're still comforting them. And that's all, that's what they need. That's going to get you through. That's minimizing the trauma of the entire situation. And it's not cry it out.
Right.
So we can link the Dr. Gordon's
Dr.
protocol thing.
But the important thing is to replace it with something else. You want your baby needs that connection with nursing. We know that when they're over a year, for the most part, I mean, it is different for, different situations, but for the most part, those babies aren't looking to you for their sole source of nutrition. So we do know that, the milk is obviously very, very beneficial to them after a year, but they are eating other things and they can eat other things and they can have other things. It's not like before they're a year and they really shouldn't be, this is like their sole source of nutrition. But we do know that you are their sole source of comfort and security. So you do have to replace that with something else. So if you're not nursing them or you're getting away from nursing them, then snuggling them or cuddling them or sitting and playing or, something that is going to distract and still connect is very important to do. If you are somebody who had always had it in your plan to wean at a year, then you probably want to start this process a little earlier. And sometimes people will reach out and be like, okay, my baby's 11 months. My baby's about to turn a year. I wanted to wean at a year. What should I do now? And it's like, this is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. So if you are really hard fast about that year deadline, then this is something you probably want to start a few weeks out for sure. Start weaning back off of some of those feedings like we were talking about earlier in the episode, cutting back time and taking some of those nursing sessions away that aren't as detrimental, like the midday and stuff like that.
Yeah. I remember I had a friend whose child was still nursing to sleep at night and she just couldn't she was having nursing aversion and all this, she just couldn't take it anymore. And she got him to transition to sucking on her finger.
Oh my gosh.
He was older, he was not a baby,
Yeah.
He was toddler age. But I was like, oh my God, that's nice. They're still suckling and she just couldn't take it on her breast anymore.
Yeah.
And so she did that and I was like, oh, that's interesting. People just do all kinds of interesting things.
I mean, babies just need some kind of comfort. I mean, just like adults do, but we just find it in a different form.
Usually
that
unhealthy.
Is usually, I was just about to say, usually unhealthy. But yeah, so that's, and people are, oh, that's so weird, but it's really not. We all need
What's
something.
Weird?
I would think that people would think that this baby sucking on the mom's finger would be weird. At an older age.
Whatever.
But it's just comfort. That's all they're looking for.
Right. And you're the only one. I mean, you're really literally the only one who can provide it. So, and if you need to switch it up and do it a different way. Oh, there's also, people who are nursing and want to stop pumping. But there are some people who want to stop nursing and they're like, can I just pump and give it to them in a cup or something?
Oh yeah, I've seen that too.
So that, because the nursing is just getting to them. And but they want their baby to still have breast milk, and you can totally do that too. Oh, and this is the other thing too, because people are going to say, well, what's, if we're not nursing, where are they going to be getting the, what sort of nutrition are they going to be getting? So you do not need to switch to some toddler formula. Like, okay, we're not nursing anymore, and they have all this formula out there that's like for toddler age. That is not, you do not need that.
Nope.
You don't need to start giving them cow's milk. You don't need to start doing anything fancy. I never gave my children anything but water. I mean, breast milk. but when to supplement with the to supplement nursing later on as they started eating solids and stuff, I just gave water.
Yeah, and people ask about that a lot too. I feel like that's all I've said this episode. People ask about this a lot.
Right.
But they do. That comes up a lot. They'll be like, well, if I'm weaning or if I'm not doing as much, breastfeeding, what should my baby have with their meals? What should they have? Like, do I have to go to cow's milk? And I usually tell people, because of course, a lot of times pediatricians say you have to do cow's milk.
Yep.
You don't have to do cow's milk.
No.
I have a lot of families that I know that never do cow's milk. And that is because they themselves don't drink it. And I always say to the parents, like, do you drink cow's milk? Is it something you have in your house? And if they say, oh yeah, of course, we drink milk, my partner and I, we drink milk. Then if that's what you want to do, then fine. But if you are somebody that like you yourself maybe is lactose intolerant, or you don't drink milk, or you don't have it in your house anyway, like you don't need to all of a sudden bring it in the mix because you have a baby.
Yeah, you don't need to start like buying special stuff.
No, you don't have to. You can do people do like Ripple milk. That's a big thing now. Oat milk has been a big thing for babies. If there's no allergies, you could do almond milk or whatever. But there's other options. Or you can just do water, like Abby said. You can just do water.
I tried all that other milks with my kids because we don't do cow's milk. I think I even bought some to see if they would take it, and they wouldn't take anything. To breast milk and water, that's all they would take. And I don't even think, I never tried putting the breast milk in a cup, but I feel like they wouldn't. I feel like they wouldn't take that either.
Maybe not. Yeah, they might not have.
But
I mean,
now
I did cow's milk because I didn't know any better.
Well, yeah, and some people drink cow's milk, and that's fine.
Yeah,
you just don't need it.
You don't need it, and now they don't. My kids don't drink it really anymore.
Yeah,
but you don't really need it after babyhood anyway, from what I understand. Contrary to popular belief, dairy or milk. What? Milk.
You don't need milk ever.
No, yeah, you don't need cow's milk.
You don't ever need it.
I mean,
baby cows need it.
Baby. As long as your baby has, if they're eating well, they're eating, things that have, because the reason why it's recommended to give cow's milk is because of the calcium and the vitamin D and, things that are in the cow's milk for babies that are, have been, but if your baby is eating a pretty balanced diet, if they're good, if they're eating well, then you don't need to worry about that stuff. Just like everything else in your life. Like if your baby is eating well, if you're, if you're giving your baby McDonald's every 5 minutes, and, that might be a problem. But if they do, if they're eating some yogurt, if you're doing smoothies with them, if you're doing, veggies and things like that, where they're getting their nutrients and you feel pretty confident with that, then you don't need to do cow's milk. You don't have to.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a baby that's 12 months, 18 months, whatever, and they're not eating, and their main source of nutrition, like for Jack at that time, his main source of nutrition was breast milk. And if you have a baby like that, then yeah, you might want to get with a nutritionist or something to try to figure out how you're going to, or that's going to be part of the weaning process, is going to be trying to find some foods that they will enjoy and will eat, because they can't just have nothing.
Right.
So I think that would be a good time to kind of get with, I would get with a nutritionist, and rather than your pediatrician, because I feel like they'll just say oh yeah, you can give them the toddler formula or whatever. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But like, I don't know. It seems
Toddler
expensive.
formula is the biggest. It's the biggest
It's
farce.
such a scam. I know.
Yeah.
I know. You don't need it. Like, you can find ways to, it's just a difficult time because your baby's still learning how to eat. So that's going to be part of your weaning process, is trying to find, the good things that they will take as you're replacing the breastfeeding. So I guess we don't have an exact answer on that because it's going to be dependent on child to child.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But just try all the things. You can try all the things.
And I mean, we can support you as always, but sometimes there is no magic answer.
Yeah, you have to try stuff. It's a brand new person. So you just have to figure out who they are, what they like, what they're going to, how they're going to be when they're going through this.
Yeah. And just stay consistent. That's really the biggest thing too.
Yeah. Well, I hope we didn't confuse you more. Which has happened.
Yeah, I know.
But thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.